It's so funny. Like, I literally was just thinking that I feel like kind of like a teenager again, that when you first get a car and you have like nowhere to go, but before you had a car, everyone wanted to hang out, everyone wanted to see you, everyone wanted to spend time. And now you have the ability to move and go, and now I ain't got nowhere to go. But I was listening to a service, and the biggest thing that I have to do, because I was not having sex, and then I had sex, and I forgive myself. I prayed and I asked God to forgive me as well, because I trusted the person, of course, but I just should have known better, because regardless of me trusting the person or not, that wasn't the point. The point was God told me not to have sex. And it was amazing, because I was listening to a service from Michael Todd, and it was like the fear of missing out. And I do not want that to be a determining factor on whether or not I do what I'm supposed to do. Regardless, if I'm gonna miss out, then it wasn't for me, right? Like, if I miss something, if something happens, if it doesn't go the way that I expected it, or then it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I had spent time, with one of my good friends. Like, that's what she would always say. Like, I was telling her, oh my gosh, really? She'd be like, no, we're not late, we're right on time. And she would really, like, literally say that all the time. No, we're right on time. Like, we're right on time. Like, oh my goodness, we're like, this is not. She was like, no, nothing that's for you will ever leave you. Anything that's for you will always be there, will always be there. And it's so true. You know what I mean? Sometimes people say stuff, and not even to say like maybe she didn't know the magnitude of the words that she was saying, because I genuinely believe that her just being positive is just food for her soul, right? And food for everyone that's around her. But then also, like, when I sit here and I really listen to like other people's testimonies, I was listening to Travis Green, and he was talking about finding his house and how the house was empty for 2 years. Like, if it was meant for you, then it will literally be sitting there waiting for you. Like, and that is how amazing God is. Like, that's what he wants us to realize, that what he has for us, he will not take it away. It will not fade. It will not disappear. It will be there. Like, it's ours. We don't have to worry about somebody else getting it. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's ours. And so I'm driving around, and I'm just like, man, I ain't got nothing to do. But in the service that I was watching, he was like, maybe God is just calling you for a season of, like, I don't want to say loneliness, but isolation, like, to be alone, you know what I mean? Because in all honesty, as I spend time with God and I really learn him, and it was crazy because, after I had had sex with the person, I felt so drained of my energy. I really did. I felt so drained. I didn't want to get out of the bed. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything. I just felt so exhausted. And I was like, you know what, God, it had to be that. Like, it had to be that. And I had to just pray and ask God, like, just, I am so sorry. Like, this is not what I want. I don't like the way this feels. Like, forgive me for making that mistake. Forgive me for what I've done. And I have to just be okay with being alone. And for the most part, I'm okay being alone. I am okay with being alone. Like, being alone, it doesn't bother me. Right now, it kind of feels like, dang, I don't really have anything to do, but I'm getting ready to do something in a little bit. I'm going to a women's conference at my church, which is really exciting. It's my first time going, so I'm looking forward to it. And, this is all stuff that I have to keep in mind, that it's not like I don't have anything to do. I do. I have an assignment, and I need to keep in mind that I have an assignment. I have an assignment, and my assignment is important. And I don't want God to find someone else to do what he's called me to do because I'm not being obedient. I want to be so obedient. I want to be so obedient. Because falling short and succumbing to thinking that I'm losing something when I cannot lose what's mine. If it's mine, there's no way I'm gonna lose it. And if a person doesn't value you enough to wait for you, then that person isn't for you either. And that's what you need to think, and that's what you need to tell yourself. That person doesn't value you. And sometimes they just don't value themselves. So how could they value you? So, but if you're trying to be, pure, and you're trying to abstain, and then, like I said, if somebody is, for you, then they'll have no problem waiting for you. Because there are other things to do. And that is so funny because I was in Bible study. And the pastor was like, you know what? I had to go through what I had to go through in order for me to get to where I was. He said, I had to literally, I guess, live in the church. He said, in order for him to stop having sex. And he said, because how was I going to bring a person into the church house and then have people seeing her? It's so amazing, and I love the transparency of it because we're flawed, right? We make mistakes. It's just we have to learn from our mistakes. And you want to kind of take people at their word. But amazingly enough, when I was going through what I was going through, I saw a service, and it was like, listen, we appreciate words, right? We're to appreciate words, but we are to value demonstration. A person loves you, they'll demonstrate their love to you. They'll show you their love. They'll do it. They'll prove it. And even to me, there was a point when I got to that I felt like I didn't have to prove my love to people. But that's not true, because love is an action word, right? It's in the doing that you show somebody that you love them, not just tell them. You show them. And it's really funny because I had a situation just this week where, the guy that I slept with, he and I are like together on like a phone plan, and he was supposed to pay the bill. And I had told him about the bill since last month. And I reminded him, I told him 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey, listen, you know what? Our service is going to be turned off if you don't pay. And reminded him, and he still didn't pay. And so, I got to a point where I felt like I was a mommy. And I don't want to be a mommy, but I felt like I had to kind of like punish the person in order for them to realize, like, you're not taking care of your responsibility. And the person is upset right now, and that's okay. I'm okay with the person being upset. I'm okay with the person being upset because I rather the person realize that I'm not going to tolerate irresponsibility versus that person thinking that they can walk all over me. I'm a very kind person, very kind, but I'm not going to be abused. Okay? I'm not going to be used, and then no, I'm not subjecting myself to that. So, I paid the bill, but then I turned off his service. I did. I interrupted his line. I suspended his line. Didn't disconnect it. I just suspended it because I feel like you should be inconvenienced because you're inconveniencing me, and you're not considerate of the fact that you're inconveniencing me. So since you're not considerate of the fact that you're inconveniencing me and you're supposed to be helping me, then I'm not going to be concerned about your inconvenience. And in all honesty, that's still a demonstration of my love, because I feel like it's tough love. Because if it was anybody else, they would do the same thing to you. If it was a big company who you owed your money to, you would run and make sure that you paid them. And that's just like family members sometimes, you know, like they take advantage, and I'm not to be taken advantage of. If you love me, you would show me that you are considerate of the fact that, one, I put extended out an olive branch to help you have, you know, something, and you are supposed to take care of it. So, you know, what we are grateful for, what we appreciate, it increases. What we take for granted and we neglect, it goes away. And so that was, you know, that was me just being tough. I have to be tough. I have to do it for myself, if not even for him, but just for me, because I'm not a doormat. And that takes me back to me being alone, because I have to be content with being alone versus me subjecting myself to something that I shouldn't have to deal with. I shouldn't have to deal with somebody that struggles to keep their word. If they say they're going to do something, they should do it. If you say you're going to be somewhere, you should be there by the time that you say you're going to be there. You know, integrity matters. And that's the reason why I had to just apologize to God and say sorry, because my integrity should have stopped me from sleeping with him. But because we are supposed to be in a relationship, and because we're supposed to care about each other, and because, you know, all of these things that is still against the will of God, because we're not married, it should have stopped me. And it didn't. So right now, my season of loneliness is kind of like, and the only thing is that I'm not upset at God. I'm more apologetic. And I'm spending time with God, whereas he's kind of like upset and he doesn't want to speak to me. The difference. There's a difference. I'm sincerely sorry for my mistake. And he apologized, but then his attitude was, I don't want to talk. And I want to talk to God. I want to talk to God because I don't want, like I said, I don't want him to find somebody else to do what it is that he wants me to do. Whereas with this guy, it's like, if he really didn't want anybody else to be in my life, then he would still be there. He would still speak to me. He would still want to be involved. So my fear of missing out made me hasty to have sex before I was supposed to. And I made a mistake. But God is good. And because because of his grace and his mercy, and because he forgives me, and because I'm able to forgive myself, and you know, it says the righteous one falls down 7 times, but they get back up. The fact that I have gotten back up and I want to get right back to God, it makes me feel better. Versus the person that I guess I was afraid of losing, that really wasn't for me anyway. Because if they were, they would still try to reach out. They would still want to know if I'm okay. They would still do something. And that's not the case. So season of isolation is fine with me. You guys have a good one.